You look over there. Hi everyone. In this video, I really wanted to talk about my personal journey into law, how I decided to go back to uni at the age of 31 and complete a Juris Doctor degree at the University of Sydney in Australia. And here's Harlow. He wants to share, he wants to be in this video as well. And I just wanted to talk about my journey because a lot of you in one of my earlier videos about the Juris Doctor have asked, what spurred this decision to go to law school. And I would like to talk about that in this video today. So I got a lot of questions when I posted my video a few years ago now about getting through exams and understanding the JD program. And this is something that I wanted to talk about and haven't had a chance. So the way that I decided, I guess, to go to law school, especially after I already had graduated with another degree and then having had experience in another field in marketing. So I did that for about 9 years across different international organizations, and then decided to go back to law school full time. So it wasn't a linear decision, it wasn't straightforward for me. I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, it would be great going back to uni for 3 years and not being able to earn an income and, changing careers completely. That wasn't it. I think what gradually was happening is with every role that I took in my marketing career, I was feeling not as satisfied, not as fully challenged, and I felt like something was missing. And it's like this sixth sense that you get that something is not quite right. And even when I got a job as a marketing manager at one of the biggest of software companies in the world with all these opportunities and travel and fun stuff, I still wasn't happy, and I realized that it wasn't about the industry that I was in or the work itself. It was just the work I didn't find fulfilling within myself. And so I thought that I could leave and go and do something else. And my first thought was, let's go and do design or graphic design or AI or something that was very creative. And I researched a lot of courses. I started putting a portfolio together, actually did a lot of art. I made a lot of artwork myself, and I dabbled in programs, and so I just kind of really tried to nail that path, and I enrolled myself actually in a course with a graphic design school and trying to do design and AI technologies, etc. And through the course of understanding what it took to be a designer and researching more and more about that sphere, and also doing my artwork and practicing and also putting my portfolio together, I started to feel a bit, lonely in the process. And also I felt like, again, something was missing because I was doing all of this creative work. I was drawing, I was putting things on paper, I was creating artwork. But there wasn't something else that I felt like was a part of the equation that needed to be a part of the equation. And I started Googling courses on Coursera. Coursera.org, I think is the website, is a free, they have free courses on all kinds of topics. So you can go and do a course on stargazing, or you can go and do a course on astronomy, or you can do a course on writing skills, and there's a collaboration that happens across global universities. And You can even pay for certain courses now, and I know that they give you like an online diploma once you complete it. And so I decided to try an environmental law course, and I found it so interesting. I found it super challenging, and it helped me dive into another area that I never explored before. And I mean, I was quite interested, and I'm still interested in how we conserve the environment, how we protect certain species of animals. And I thought, well, if I was ever to do law, I would like to understand, what protections are offered and what rules exist out there. So I was doing this course, I was continuing to draw and paint and other things, and I was still listening to these courses every single day. And I felt like the combination of those two things made me happy, made me fulfilled, made me feel challenged intellectually by listening to these lectures by this professor and understanding case law, and then also doing some of the creative work. And then I thought, well, the creative stuff wasn't enough at that point for me to continue. And so I decided not to continue with the graphic design idea or the AI idea. And I thought, well, maybe I'll go and do a law degree. And this wasn't the first time I came up with this idea. The first time was when I was studying at the University of Auckland, and I was doing my Bachelor of Commerce degree. I was in my first year, and I decided to apply in my second year to do a law degree. And the reason I did that is because as a part of my first year in commerce, I did some law subjects, and I loved them. I thought they were incredibly interesting. I loved the case law. I thought the lectures were really different, and law is very interesting to study. It is. Everybody finds that. And so I applied and got accepted, and then I had to make a decision. Do I continue with my commerce degree, or do I change into law? And that required an extra year of study. It was 5 years, and at that stage I didn't have money. I was paying for my degree myself. I was in another country. My parents were in Australia. I was in New Zealand. I realized that I had no idea what it's like to work as a lawyer or as a marketer. And the commerce degree was so much faster. It was 3 years, and then I could get the experience. So I thought that maybe I should just stick with that and try it. And then if I didn't like marketing, I could always change into law at a later stage, which essentially is what happened. Pretty much. So what happened next? It's not like you get these bright ideas and you go, yes, I'm going to be a lawyer, and yes, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. I had no idea what lawyers did. I dealt with some lawyers within the corporate environment who were in-house. I understood that lawyers went to court and represented clients, but I had no idea what other things were out there. And so, I made this decision to go back to law school, but I didn't have an expectation of what kind of job I would be doing coming out of it. And I wanted to keep it as broad and as flexible as possible, and to just do my best and see where it took me. Basically, all I knew is that I enjoyed listening to law lectures, and I liked the material, and I was challenged by it, and I was always fascinated by it. Another thing that really motivated me to do it is when you move countries at a young age. So when I was 12 years old, we moved from Kazakhstan to New Zealand, and then I moved from New Zealand to Australia at the age of 16, and then back to New Zealand for studies, etc. When you move to another country, especially when it's an immigration from a third world country to a somewhat developed country, or a developed country, and it's basically you are thrown into a whole other world with a different language. You're thrown into a world where your parents don't really understand the rules. You think things work the same way, but they don't. and there's so much that's unsaid, and it's this infrastructure and the system that, you know, even people who are born and brought up in these places find it difficult to understand. And so I think if you really want to understand the ecosystem that you exist in as a person, you really need to understand the laws and the rules of the place that you're in. And a law degree gives you those foundations to understand that just the generality of what we're working with, our political system, our rules, our legislation. Just knowing your rights as a citizen of a certain country is really important, but also you start to understand the fabric of all of the things that build our society, and I think that's really, really important. And it's unfortunate that I'm saying people should be doing law degrees, that's not a thing, but it's unfortunate that I only could find out this information when I did go to law school. And it gave me such a grounding and such a good framework around just understanding what happens in Australia, what happens in the world. And law school also gave me an opportunity to travel and to study law in Germany and in China and in Norway, and so you start to expose yourself to interesting people, interesting ideas. You start to be familiar with concepts, and you become better at critical thinking, at analyzing things and thinking on your feet. And so I think it all helped me build up to who I am today. And again, it was this huge journey for me, those 3 years doing the JD. And yeah, what motivated me was I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. I knew that something was missing, especially a more intellectual part. And I also felt like I never understood where I was living. And I think that is such an important thing, that all of us need to familiarize ourselves with the environment that we live in, not just the friend circle or the family circle or the culture or the language. Those things are really important, but what are the rules of the country that you're living in? What are the things that you can and can't do, and why historically has so and so happened? I think that's really important for all of us to understand on every level. And what law school does is, because for the first 2 years of the JD, out of the 3, we had to do foundational courses, and those were non-negotiable. You don't get to choose them. Those are just compulsory as part of the curriculum. And those are the staple things like constitutional law and corporate law that you have to learn, you have to study, you have to understand. But at the same time, I think that's what gives you the breadth of understanding, rather than, you know, specializing very early on, being able to pick your subjects and then saying, but I'm not interested in this part, I'm only interested in this. That's not how things work. That's not how we work as humans. And I think that's a real shame these days, is that people, you know, I think it's also great that you can specialize quite early, but at the same time, I think you miss out on all of that groundwork that needs to be established and needs to happen for you to really understand what's going on. So yeah, my law school journey, my decision to go into law school, all of that stuff, that's how it happened. And yeah, I haven't looked back since. I don't have any regrets. And even if I cease to be a lawyer one day, I'm still a lawyer. I'm still admitted. I'm still working in a law firm. But if I cease to be a lawyer one day, I wouldn't regret doing what I did. And, you know, a lot of people seem to have concerns about their age. And it's natural. It's natural for us to feel like we've built a structure, you know, certain ages. So you finish high school at 17, then you go on to uni from 18 to 25, from 25 to whatever you work, then you build a family. So these are very traditional notions of what a life should look like. I think those are built on an understanding of that's what life looked like in the past 100 years maybe. I mean, it's not even that recent that this is how we were supposed to live our life, and so now it's changing obviously, but people still have this notion that you can't go to uni after like 25. Yes, you can. Like, you can do whatever. You can go to uni, you can do degrees, you can change degrees, you can also change your mind. You can enroll in a degree, just like a lot of people did. They enrolled in the Juris Doctor, and like half of our cohort disappeared within the next 6 months, or within a year. I think there was like a third left, and that's the statistic, and that's fine too. You don't have to stick to things for 20 years now. That's not how we're supposed to live our life. And so, I mean, for me it wasn't an easy decision, and I had a lot of support from my husband, but I didn't have as much support from my family, because they didn't understand why I wanted to go and complicate my life and, you know, study again and go through, because people think studying is painful, and maybe it is, but what it does is it actually expands your comfort zone. It expands your thinking. And if you're willing to do that, you know, I think we should all be constantly learning and growing, and it's not a chore. It's something that comes very naturally to us, not just as kids, but as adults as well. And yeah, there's nothing scary about going back to school. The only thing is, it is hard work. There's a lot of readings, there's a lot of things that you need to, concepts you need to understand, but you can get through it. And I didn't have lawyers in my family. I don't know anybody who's a lawyer that's like been close to me, that could mentor me, that could provide their guidance, etc. Like, it all had to be me, and it's fine, you know. This is what learning is there for. You're not supposed to start a course by being the smartest kid in the room. You have to be comfortable with being the dumbest kid in the room, and once you get comfortable with that idea, your learning will be exponential. If you come with the mindset that you should be the smartest kid in the room and you should already know everything when you're in the classroom, then why are you there? That's not why you're there. You're there to learn. And so start with zero knowledge. It's fine to not know anything. Maybe there's always going to be somebody smarter than you, but that's fine too. But what you'll find out eventually is the people who come to these classes and they think they're really smart and they talk a lot and they seem to understand everything, like, you find out later that they don't really know that much. And so I think it's just, don't feel intimidated by that. That would be my advice. Yeah, so this video turned into me giving advice about going to law school. But yeah, no regrets. And if you're thinking about doing it, I can give you more answers if you want. Yeah, and I've really enjoyed my career so far. I've been doing this for 3 years. I'm in Dubai. I moved from Sydney to Dubai. I'm doing law here. And yeah, there's lots of opportunities. There's lots of things happening in the world, and you're not going to be worse off getting another degree. Thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe to my channel, because I'll be posting more of these kinds of videos, and let me know what you thought, if you found it useful. I hope you have. But yeah. Anything to say to your followers? your life? How are you enjoying life? Arlo doesn't really want to speak today, but